Hi and welcome. I'm new to this. I've never done an unboxing video before or anything like that. But anyway, I thought I'd give it a go. I've been struggling with this for, I don't know, 8 years, 9 years, something like that. I haven't got the spring in at the moment for the trigger, just because I've got the needle out. The needle's absolutely ruined. The tip of it's bent. This Badger Airbrush, it's a Badger 150 dual action. Probably built or made in about 1980 something, and it's done good service, but it's getting really hard to get any kind of control or accuracy with it, despite replacing parts and stuff like that. The body's getting tarnished. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up, but from sweat and stuff in my hands, I think. But it kind of came to me in a pretty rough state, and I've tried everything to make it better, but I've just been struggling. So I decided to treat myself, because I feel like I'm ready to look after and care for a better airbrush, and I settled on one of these. This is a Harder and Steenbeck Infinity CR Plus. I think the CR Plus just stands for the coatings they use. Never done an unboxing video before, a little card kind of thing. The price of this was £165 with delivery. It was actually £155, but then £8.60 signed for delivery. And I got it from xtremepaintstudio Limited. They had the most reasonable price, to be honest. You get the little instruction book in a few different languages. A very important card telling you not to drop the main body of the thing into solvents because you don't need to. How to clean it. Obviously the exploded diagram. Always really, really useful with airbrushes, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to strip this down. I've not used it yet, but we'll strip it down so we can have a look at kind of how it comes apart and how it goes together, because that's really critical when you get a new airbrush to understand that, because you need to be doing it to clean it. List of parts, good availability of parts on this, and then some usage instructions all the way through the book. And a guarantee, 24-month guarantee against manufacturer defect. So, it comes in a nice plastic box. This isn't the 2-in-1, they also do a 2-in-1, which has some extra bits. So it's got another needle and head assembly, and another colour cup. This has just got the one, so it's just as it is. And we have a little bag with the air cap, and a tool which we need to take the brush apart. And then there's the brush itself, got a little colour cap. I don't really use these much because I find they get stuck and I can never get them off. This has got the 2mm cup on it. I have ordered a 5mm cup because it's probably just easier to have a bigger cup for mixing paint and stuff. But I did kind of buy this because I want to do some small detail work. So that should really, really help. The other reason I bought this one is the trigger. Reading reviews and stuff, they say that this is one of the best kind of trigger actions on the market, and I can certainly believe it. It feels great, and you can adjust the tension on the trigger with this little screw here, which you can access. So that's really loose. There's very little tension. You could probably go further. Yeah, very little tension now, nothing. And then obviously if you wind it in the other way, you can get a little bit of back tension. It's a dual action brush, which means when you press it down, you get air. And when you press it down and pull it back, you get air mixed with paint. And you can see, probably just about see the needle in there. So there we go. It comes with a quick couple, which is really, really nice. I use quick couples on my airline just because it makes life a lot easier. Not because I'm swapping between lots of different brushes, I'm not. I just have the one. But then I also have an air adjustment on there, which is really, really useful. You can just back the air off or bring the air up as you need. That doesn't come with it. That's just a tip, I guess. And then the other feature with this is this rather nifty little adjustment here on the back. And you can control the thickness of the line effectively, depending on how close you are to the work. And all you do, I believe, is pull it out, and then you can adjust it. Sorry, put it in and adjust it. There you go. So it acts as a backstop. So there, I can't pull the trigger back very far. If you pull it out, you can then pull the trigger all the way back, letting lots of paint out. And then you just press the button and it'll snap back. So it remembers that setting. It should be really useful for consistent lines, which is something I've never been able to do with the old Badger Airbrush. Never been able to get a consistent thickness of line, ever. Then we have a little air cap on the front, just here protecting the needle. I'm going to pull the needle back when I do that, because I don't want to accidentally damage the needle. So there you go, just a little air cap protecting the needle. Not sure if you can see. I'll let the needle out. There's the needle. And this is fitted with a 0.2mm needle. If you get the CR Plus 2-in-1, you get the 0.2 and the 0.4 needle. I think there's some other arrangements you can have as well. And then in the bag, we've got the air cap. One of the reasons I bought this was it's got a pinch clean air cap, which is quite a novel little solution. So due to the fact that it's kind of open, you can pinch clean it with a piece of tissue paper or a cotton bud. I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to damage the needle doing this, but we'll see. And when you get your airbrush, you obviously want to be really careful putting the cap on and off. So if you withdraw the needle first, that then allows you to safely put the air cap on, or the protective cap, without damaging the needle. So just a bit of a hint. What's really nice about that though is it just pulls off. So there's no tools involved in that. I'm going to strip it. I'm going to pop the protective cap back on because I don't want to accidentally damage the needle. And I've never stripped this before. I've kind of had a look a bit at the instructions, but not much. You should be able to kind of figure it out. Firstly, the colour cup comes off for cleaning, which is really, really handy, and it means it's interchangeable. If you get the CR 2-in-1, CR Plus 2-in-1, sorry, you get a 5mm cup. This is the 2mm cup. And a 5mm cup is probably better for bigger areas and things like that, or if you're messy mixing your paint. There's a little rubber O-ring in there. Yeah, so we'll start taking it apart. So the first thing we're going to do is carefully and gently remove the unit at the back. We shouldn't have to strip that any more than that. Can you still see that? Not sure. And then that allows us to get to the needle. Obviously a really fine needle this, and I don't want to damage it. So we're going to do the needle chuck. I'm going to take it right off. There's the needle chuck. I'll try and put this in some kind of order, eh? And then depress the trigger to take the needle out. That just takes any potential strain off the needle. I like to do it fairly carefully. And then we've got a beautifully fine 2mm needle. I'll put that there carefully. They give you a tool to remove this entire unit at the back, and it's just a little pin that slips into the collet, and then you just gently give it a bit of pressure and you'll be able to remove all of that. Now I'm not sure how the trigger arrangement works in this. So there's the piece that the trigger comes back to, and that allows the needle to pull back. You could strip that right down. There we go. Easily done. Not sure how the trigger comes out. Terrified. There we go. But yeah, that's a really easy trigger to take out and put back. That's beautiful. I say that. I can't put it back. Got it the wrong way around. There we go. Oh, that's great. Because one of the issues with the Badger Airbrush is this is quite an old one, and to get the trigger out, you can just pull the trigger out, but there's a small spring that sits behind the trigger, and you have to get it in that slot and then turn it sideways and then get the trigger piece in on top of it, and it's actually really, really fiddly. So this trigger, being able to take it out and put it back just like that is just a boon. Look at that. That is so quick. Tiny things, please tiny minds. There we go. Then obviously we've got the air valve. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take the air valve off. Sometimes they're pretty stuck on, and it looks like that one is. really tight on there, so I'm not even going to try, to be honest. Shouldn't have to, of course. Should never have to really... Oh, there we go, got it. So this is the air valve. And you can see there's a rubber O-ring in there, so you've got to be super careful with the air valves. You don't want to destroy either of those rubber O-rings straight up into the body of the brush. So I'll pop that back on. There's no real reason to strip that off at the moment. But if you do need to really clean this part, it can be useful to take off the air valve. For just general cleaning, you probably don't need to. And then because the needle's out, it's safe for me to fiddle around with the front end. There's the needle cap. It should be toolless. I think because I've got these gloves on, it's a little bit harder. And then that allows us to take the nozzle out. And then we've got a very small PTFE ring and the nozzle there. So the CR Plus bit, I believe, means that the thing is triple sealed inside here. So that means it's safe to use with all types of paint and safe to use with enamels and cellulose-based paints as well as acrylic. For me personally, I'll probably mainly use it with ink and acrylic, or acrylic ink, I should say. That's the plan. So no instructions needed really. It's pretty straightforward. Getting it back together might be a bit trickier. We'll see. So we'll take the nozzle and gently reinsert that. Just let gravity do its work because it's such a fine piece of stuff. And then very carefully, top tip, make sure you don't cross thread the airbrush. So if you unwind it a little bit, you can feel it click. So undo it, and there you hear the click. You may not hear the click, but you may see it. Then you can wind it back in gently. Don't need to be really tight, just kind of like finger tight on that. I'm going to put the air cap back on. The protective cap back on because I don't want to damage the needle. And then I can start reassembling it. So trigger in first. It's got a flat. So the reason I was struggling before is I didn't put the flat in the right place. But if you get the flat in the right place, the needle drops in super, super easy. So simple. I love that. There we go. And we need to reassemble this because I took it apart like a fool. It's a new airbrush. It shouldn't need any lubrication, really. But just as a matter of course, I tend to, if it's in clean condition, just put a drop of sewing machine oil on things. Because my dad's an engineer and it's just what I've always done. Keep things lubed, basically, is always my plan. I'll put another drop just on there because that's the sliding part, and hopefully that'll just work its way around. Just to protect it and keep it running smoothly. There won't be any paint getting back on that back end. And then again, just to make sure we don't cross thread it, I'm going to back it off before I turn it in. There we go. So I've unwound it. Hear the click as the thread engages, and then you can wind it back in. That way you'll never ever cross thread and damage that really delicate component. And it is a delicate component. And I've made a terrible mistake because the trigger's not engaged down below that. So do that again. There we go. Trigger's now down the bottom. So again, if you undo it, there's the click. That means that the threads are in the right place and I can wind it back in safely. I'm not going to tension it up super tight. I don't think you need to really. You just don't want air escaping, I guess. So just a little bit of pressure. If I need to tighten it a bit more, I can. And that's lovely. I'm back in. Drop a little bit of lube just on that back end as well, because you can see that moving. And just help it, lubricate it from both sides. And give it a wipe. Don't want oil spilling everywhere. And that's a mineral oil, so it's pretty safe. And now I'm ready to pop the needle back in. So again, I'm going to push the trigger down. Before I put the needle in though, a top trick is just to use a little dab of glycerin. So I'd struggled with needles for years on an airbrush, having problems with them drying, and this apparently helps. So very carefully, one little tiny drop of glycerin on the end of the needle will help keep it lubed a little bit longer. I'm going to be very careful. Like I say, the problem with my old airbrush is the needle's just destroyed. That feels a little bit bindy, so just be very careful. There we go. It's obviously going through some seals there. And that's the needle in. You can just check the needle's in a second. But anyway, whoops. I'm wearing gloves because of my horrible sweaty fingers that I don't want to get over this brand new airbrush and end up with the tarnishing on the outside. I think in theory this shouldn't tarnish anywhere near as badly as the Badger, but then the Badger's probably 30 years old, so give it credit, eh? So that's the needle check back on. I'm just going to withdraw the needle, pop the cap off and just check. Yeah, there's the needle. I'm not sure you can see that. There's the needle activating. So we've got the needle back on. There we go. And then just going to replace this cover with the quick set valve at the back. And again, this really doesn't want to be tight, just enough. So I've had some people say that when they're holding the airbrush, they've accidentally moved the adjustment there. But you can really, there's a bit of play there. You can move this around quite a bit. It doesn't have to be airtight, this part. It's literally just a cover. So by doing that, you can get it into a position where it's not going to be interfered with by your hand. What a beautifully engineered piece of equipment. Really love the look of this. Just a beautiful looking airbrush. So there we go. There's my little quick unboxing. I guess I'll get some ink on some paper just to see and have a play and a test. I've never really been able to get very good at airbrushing because my equipment's let me down quite a lot. Really hard to get fine lines. So really hard to practice if you can't get the control in the beginning because of the brush. So this hopefully will cure that. Anyway, we'll see. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. I hope you're good. Cheers.